Hi, it's Ursula from EasyScraps.com, and today I want to show you a little trick that I do with my art journal. This is the year I'm really trying to play and practice and do everything in an art journal, as opposed to the way that I've worked in past years where everything I experimented with or tried I did on little scraps of paper or big scraps of paper, and now I'm basically drowning in scraps of paper. So this is the year that I'm really trying to focus and do everything in art journals. So to that end, I've started playing a lot with gesso, and I've already posted on my blog, easyscraps.com/blog, one way that I've used gesso with Kraft Glassine, which is another one of my favorite products. But today I'm going to show you a trick that I do with my art journal, Kraft Glassine, and gesso, and it's a twofer. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this video. So just so that you can see what I'm talking about, here's one of my piles of scraps. Okay, we come over here, there's another pile. Okay, we have another one right there. Oh, yep, there's bags and scraps and all kinds of piles. Oh, there's another pile. So yeah, I've got lots of piles of my experiments in my craft room. So now you can see why I really want to focus this year on using an art journal, because then I can stack them and shelve them and things might be a little neater around here. So here's the setup that we're basically going to use. I have my art journal here. Actually, I'm using the Dylusions Creative Journal, which I love. It's really thick. It lays flat when you open it out, which is really nice. And it's got this nice, cool cream. It's almost like a cardstock. It's really thick, and it doesn't really show through that much from one side to the other, so you can work on both sides, which is great. And then, of course, we're going to use the Kraft Glassine. So I'm actually just going to do one side right now, but I would actually generally do both sides of the journal the same way, or similar. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the Kraft Glassine down in the middle of the page and hopefully center it. And then for today's project, I'm actually going to take a stencil. And so I just wanted to show you my stencil setup. I use the 12 by 12 scrapbook inserts, that generally go in a scrapbook album, that open from the top, and I keep my stencils in those so that they kind of stay protected and don't get hung up on each other. And so I'm going to take this stencil. This is actually a 12 by 12 stencil. I actually made it myself. So you can use any stencil that you like. The larger actually probably works better, but you can use smaller stencils and just kind of go around the Kraft Glassine. And then you can use a palette knife, or I'm just using a credit card. And today I'm going to use clear gesso. I've been using clear gesso a lot because it gives that tooth that regular gesso does, but it's clear, so whatever the substrate is that you're actually using it on, it will allow that color or whatever colors underneath the gesso to show through. So in this case, I actually love the look of Kraft Glassine. I want some of that to show through. I like that cream color, so rather than using white gesso, I'm going to use the clear. And I'm going to try and do this. I'm working around the camera, so hopefully I can do this without totally smudging up my work. But I'm going to, and the way I kind of do it, I usually work with like another thing over on the side where I actually pour out the gesso, but I'm going to try and do this for quick purposes. And so then what I do is I just spread the gesso through the stencil, hopefully without moving it, which I just did that time. And I would go all the way around, and if you can see, I don't clean my stencils. So what happens is whatever is water-based, whether it's dye or, you know, watercolor paints or the sprays, the dilution sprays, any of those will start to bleed. I don't mind that. I like that. I love that kind of serendipitous addition of color. But if you want your gesso to go on completely clear, then you will have to make sure, in this case if you're using a stencil, that your stencil is clean. Not like mine. So I'm just using my credit card to spread the gesso, and I'm going to try and see if I can speed this up a little bit so you're not sitting here all day watching me spread. But I also want to use this, so I am going to try and get as much of it as I can. Alright, so I'm getting towards the end. I may miss some of the bottom. Alright, one last swipe. Missed a couple of spots, but you're getting the idea anyway. And so then what I do is I lift up the stencil, and yeah, I moved it. And so now, if I lift off the Kraft Glassine, I have a sheet of Kraft Glassine with the stencil pattern on it. But then I also have this cool frame in my journal that I can then work inside the frame. I can draw, I can stamp, I can collage, I can do whatever I want. And like I said, generally I would do the other side. A lot of times sometimes I won't even do like the frame, I'll just do an edge and I'll do mirroring edges. And so when you open it up, it's more like kind of like a scrapbook layout where, you know, the two sides play together, especially if I'm going to do something that goes across the middle, which this journal you actually can because it lays so flat. I won't do the frame thing, I'll just do the edge or the top and bottom or something like that. But in any event, you get a twofer. You get the Kraft Glassine with the texture by the stencil, and then you get the texture in the journal as well. So I'm going to let this dry, and then next week I'll show you the effects of doing that gesso step on the Kraft Glassine and what you can do with it from there. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.